guys, and welcome back to another Elden Ring build video. This time we have changed it up. We are going with an intelligence build, and this is a Darkmoon Greatsword build. By far one of the most badass weapons in Souls games, and once again in Elden Ring, this thing is absolutely ridiculous. It is extremely powerful if you build it out in this build right here. And the reason why I think the Darkmoon Greatsword is so good is because you can use lots of different elements to scale up the damage, and this thing absolutely shreds through bosses, it shreds through enemies, and it's really good. And the reason why it's so good is because of its normal ability here. When you scale this up with its Ash of War, you imbue the blade with that Dark Moon to help build up even further damage and frost, and it is already a absolutely devastating weapon just on itself because it is a greatsword. And for a primarily magic intelligence build, having a greatsword with this huge AR that it can do and be really chonky and chonk through enemies, it means that this is an extremely versatile build. Now right here with this weapon already powered up, we can see we're doing 860 AR, but there are quite a few different ways that we can bump that up. Now, to have a quick look at my abilities and attributes here, you'll notice that I also have 25 into Faith. My primary focus there is 70 for Intelligence, going with some Dex, Strength, 30 Endurance, 30 Mind, 50 Vigor. Now, this also is boosted here by Radagon's Source Seal, which I think is an extremely valuable talisman because it just basically gives you extra levels, helps boost up some of those attributes so you don't need to invest too much into Vigor, too much into Endurance there, and it's really helpful meeting some of the caps that you need. And this really helps. I'm also running Shard of Alexander, which is really going to boost our Darkmoon Greatsword, and we'll see that in a minute. And then I'm using Godfrey's Icon, which enhances charge spells and skills. And you'll see that the Darkmoon Greatsword's main ability is a charge skill, charge spell. So this does stack as well. And then because this is a really FP heavy build, I'm going with the Ancestral Spirit's Horn to restore FP upon defeating enemies, because while you are actually charged up with the Darkmoon Greatsword, it doesn't use any FP, which is ridiculous. So you can charge this up, use your FP there, and get a lot of it back. Also going with the Raptor's Black Feathers here, not only does it look cool, but it also has that fantastic ability of being able to stack jump attacks. And the Greatsword does have a fantastic jump attack, which does put out quite a lot of damage. So I'm also using the Jellyfish Shield. The Jellyfish Shield has a fantastic Ash of War that when you scale this up, this will give you extra damage as well while the Jellyfish is red. Now that's fantastic because you can then use that charged attack and it does extra damage as well, stacking further with those talismans that we've got on. And there's also more ways to boost this up as well. Because I've got those attributes into Faith, I can also use the incantation Golden Vow, which will again stack further damage and also give some physical resistance as well. So you can see once I'm putting all these together, plus the physic, and we'll go in here and show the physic. I'm using the fantastic ability of the Wondrous Physic here that boosts up magic attacks and also eliminates that FP consumption. So if you get into a tight bind, you can use this and really spam some spells, and we'll get into some spells just here in a second. But you can see here, if we stack all these things together, so if I use my physic, then Golden Vow, then we want to charge up our sword, then we want to use the Jellyfish. Now we've gone up to 1,325 AR, so this is really fantastic, and it's going to start putting out a lot of damage. You can see we went from 1,700 up to 2,700, so we've basically raised that attack power to the ability where we can one-shot these guys, and that is fantastic for a greatsword, especially when this is that build that you've got a lot of spells. So there you can see that jumping attack moveset, which is really great as well. Got that rolling slash. And then we get into the bread and butter of this whole build, which again, we'll need to charge up to showcase this. So we are back ready to charge this up. So again, we're going to follow that same pattern. So we pop the physic, pop the vow, pop the sword, Pop the shield. And this is when we start seeing some really huge damage with our ability here. And you can see this is not using FP. It's hitting 3,600. Now, what is amazing about this ability as well is it will stagger bosses once you hit them a few times in a row. This can be a little bit finicky sometimes, where it will go over the heads of enemies. But you can see this thing is absolutely ridiculous. And what's great about the jellyfish shield is you can just keep charging it up the further you go through. And you can see this is already lasting quite a while. So once you're defeating all these enemies, you'll also notice too that my FP has been filling back up. So it's actually ridiculously strong. Even without that charged jellyfish, 2,500 on that hit is absolutely insane. And that is just one element of this build. So the other element of this build is, again, you have 70 intelligence with this build. So you can use a whole lot of spells as well. And with that, we're going with Azur's staff. The reason why I picked Azur's glintstone staff over something like Lusat's is because this actually casts a lot faster. And some of the spells I really like to use have that long cast time. Now, what's great about this too is the jellyfish will also stack this damage. So using Terra Magica also gives that boost to damage. And I've just got things like Glintstone Pebble. And you can see just how quick the casting speed is here. This is also without being buffed by my physic. It's smacking people. So I'm going with Comet as well. Comet is a really powerful spell just for punching through enemies and really doing a lot of damage. And there's lots of other abilities that you can use. I've also got a few AoE attacks, so I'm using... Well, I really love Adula's Moonblade here, and Adula's Moonblade is absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, you don't really get a lot of good toys with this build, so you can get knocked out of doing this. But this, again, builds up that frost, kind of fits in with that theme that we've got going here. But you can see, this has got a lot of versatility to this build, and you can just keep pouring on the damage, keep putting on the pressure, switching back over to that sword. You know, like, it does a lot, this build, and it is just so much fun. It's probably one of the strongest builds in the game, and I really am enjoying this build. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Let me know in the comments if you've been using something like this. What do you think of Elden Ring? I've been really loving it. And again, please leave a like and subscribe. Thanks so much.